It's my favourite day of the year, New Stephen King Day. Here's my spoiler-free review of his brand new novel, Never Flinch. Hi everyone, welcome to my channel. I'm Dave Musson and this is the place where I talk to you about all things Stephen King. And in this video, as you already know, I'm giving you my spoiler-free review of Never Flinch, the brand new Stephen King novel that is out today as this video drops, 27th of May, 2025. It's another book starring Holly Gibney. She's a bodyguard this time. We've got a soul singer. We've got a women's rights activist. We've got a guy going around killing people. It's all going off. There's loads to talk about, and that's what I'm going to do in this video, and I really hope you enjoy it. Now, if you happen to be new to this channel, perhaps you've come in purely to find this review, then hi, welcome. My name is Dave. I've been running this channel all about all things Stephen King for the last 5 years now, or just about 5 years anyway. I've covered all of his books so far, giving you 19 reasons to read each one of them. I've covered most of his movies. I've put a load of specials out there as well. I also have a book club where I review non-Stephen King horror books that I think you'll like. And I've also recently started a feature called Silver Scream, where we talk about horror movies as well. So if you enjoy this review, there's loads more to explore on the channel. So do dig around, have a look, see what you think. And hey, if you do like it, subscribe and keep coming back for more. If you're a regular around here, hey, welcome back. Thanks. It's New King time. Let's get into it. So as I said, in this video, I'm going through my spoiler-free review of Never Flinch, which I was lucky enough to get an early copy of. Thank you so much to Hodder, King's UK publisher, for having faith in me as a reviewer and giving me an advance copy. Genuinely thrilled to get that, and it means that this video can be released on publication day. So thanks again to Hodder for making a little dream of mine come true, and well, for enabling this review to happen right when I need it to happen. So this video, I am going to get to my review, but before that, I've made a little vlog of me going through my experience of reading Never Flinch, all spoiler free still. So if you are ready, that's what we're going to go into in a few minutes. And after the review, the only bit that will be even close to something resembling a spoiler is at the very end of my review. I'm going to go through a list of Easter eggs that I found in Never Flinch, that kind of references to other King things, echoes of other King things, character names, 19s, that kind of stuff. But I'll give you fair warning of that, because if you want to dodge those and discover those for yourself, you can absolutely do that. But yeah, let's get on with it. My review is to come, and if you want to skip ahead on the vlog, just find the timestamp in the description. But otherwise, here's a little vlog I recorded of my journey through Never Flinch. So, mega exciting news. Look what just came in the post for me. Yeah, a copy of Never Flinch sent to me from King's UK publishers, and sent to me 3 weeks before this comes out. Yeah, I've finally done it. I've got an advanced copy of a Stephen King book to review for this channel. I'm very excited. That was legitimately one of my goals for this channel, was to get advanced copies of King books to review them. The other goal is to interview Stephen King, so maybe that'll happen one day. But I am so grateful to have this, and yeah, it's really exciting, like a genuine like mini dream come true. So I thought I would vlog my reading experience of this for you. Another Holly Gibney book, which, I mean, I'd admit I could be more excited about, but it's New King, and I'm always excited for New King. And it's New King before I'm supposed to have it as a general, normal, constant reader. So I'm very excited. Thank you so much, Hodder, for giving me this book. And here it is. Look, that's the UK first edition cover. I'll maybe show you this in more detail in a few moments. But I have childcare to negotiate at the moment. But come this evening, I'll be cracking open Never Flinch. So I haven't even started reading yet. I just wanted to, again, to express my excitement to getting this copy 20 days early. Like, genuinely, it might seem like a small thing. Sure, you got a book a little bit early as a review thing, because you're sort of a content creator, reviewer type thing. Like, people might expect that. But getting to this point was legitimately one of the reasons I set up the YouTube channel. I wanted to get to a point where I could be seen as a credible critic, I guess, voice on Stephen King. Um, and literally the reasons I set up the channel were to get to this point, to be able to be a bona fide Stephen King reviewer and get stuff early, which I've got. And like the other big reason was to try and interview the guy. Obviously, I've not done that yet, but like genuinely, this has just made my day. Like it's absolutely, it's a small one, but it's a dream come true moment. So it just legitimizes the work I've done for the last 5 years on this channel. Um, so thank you to all of you. I know this is a random thing to put in the middle of the book review. Thank you to all of you for supporting my channel because I wouldn't have got to this point without your support. Um, yeah, and it is really exciting. And pretty soon, once the house has gone to bed and stuff and all the evening chores done, I will actually sit down and start reading this. Very excited. Even though it's Holly Gibney, I'm very excited. Okay, let's give you a quick look at this UK first edition of Never Flinch. There's the cover, nice green one, which I know most people on my YouTube seem to prefer to the US edition. And there's the back with blurb on. And if we take a look inside, and quite nice end papers. I think the independent bookstore edition has different end papers to this. And then, as is the way with the UK ones, they seem to be orange on the actual cover of the book itself. We've got that picture of King that hasn't been updated for a few years, but fair play. If he doesn't want to change it, that's fine. And well, there you go. This is inside of the book, the Flinch, a novel. So that's probably a good time to start reading it. Yeah. So 100 or so pages into Nether Flinch, and thought it'd be worth just doing a first little vlog update. I'm not going to go through all the 19s and references to the King stuff. I'll probably save that for the Easter egg section at the end. But there are some things I've picked up in this book. It's difficult. I'm about a quarter of the way through. It's difficult to gauge what I think of the book so far. There are some really good things in this. So our killer that we sit with, um, and no, I don't think it's a spoiler to say it's a character called Trig, because in the Holly books, we tend to know who the killer is, and it's about the other characters working out what's going on. The scenes we get with Trig are great. But when we get into Trig's head, it's really compelling. And it's similar vibes to Brady Hartsfield, Morris Bellamy, those kind of villains from this world. And the two villains from Holly, whose names have completely escaped me right now. The two academics. But yeah, so his stuff's really good. And the first kill we get with Trig is really tightly written, really cold, and just great writing and scary. It's scary in its coldness. So I love all of that stuff. And it's really intriguing how King is weaving in the addiction stuff, the recovery stuff, the meetings, all of that kind of thing. So you might remember, if you remember the extract that was released during the year, from the very start of this book, where we meet Trig and Reverend Mike, and they just come out of a meeting, and all of that kind of stuff, and it's sort of preempting what's going to happen. King's great at writing the recovery stuff, and it works really well here. Like I say, a very compelling villain. I also kind of like Izzy in this, the detective. Didn't really get loads of her. I think she's introduced in End of Watch. We get a bit more of her in Holly. Didn't really get a sense of who she is. She's great in this. She's quite different from Bill Hodges, but that's good. He wouldn't want just retreading over the same thing. Yeah, she seems likable. She seems competent. Seems to not accept nonsense, which is a good thing. She's also seemingly best friends with Holly, and that kind of brings me on to the stuff that I'm not enjoying so far as much, and that is Holly and the Robinsons and Barbara and Jerome. And I'm not enjoying them because they are just so unbelievably brilliant and perfect. And just it just feels forced now. Like Holly, like everyone is just in awe. What an amazing detective she is. Like members of the police are like, let's phone Holly and see what she thinks. It's like, really? And then we've got Jerome, who of course is a bestseller, and is now trying to write his second book. And Barbara, whose book of poetry has done well, and she says herself she'll have to be content with 4 stars on Goodreads. Well, almost 4. But everybody seemingly loves her poetry as well. And like, I run open mic nights. I know a few poets. Like, people don't get that excited about poetry books, particularly a single poetry book from some student. Um, so it's all a bit much, particularly particularly as we get about 70 pages in, where we first properly meet Sister Bessie, who's this singer, this legendary singer. Everybody's really excited about coming out of retirement. She, again, don't want to give the spoilers away necessarily, but she reaches out to Barbara in this, which feels strange. This is like a sort of Tina Turner level of fame, reaching out to a young woman who has had one moderately successful poetry book. And this singer says to Barbara, and I quote, "You're so goddamn talented." And it's like, really? Really, would that happen? Because of course she wants Barbara to come to her rehearsals, stuff like that. Um, so yeah, I don't like that stuff so much. The Kate Mackay character, she's interesting, but I don't get a sense of what her politics are. I don't get a sense of what her views are. She's a female rights activist, but I don't know what she is campaigning for. That's quite clever from King because he's not having to take one side or the other. He's just sort of portraying this character. Um, yeah. So the just sheer brilliance of the Robinsons and of Holly is grating a little bit. Um, and yes, Kate Mackay, is like I say, it's clever from King, but I don't really know what she's about yet. But she's a divisive character, and I'm interested to see how she develops. Just some other fun stuff that I noticed. So Holly seems much more socially normal now. Bill would be very proud of her. Um, we have lots of names being thrown around in this book. Like page 9, I made a note. So many names, I hope they're not important. There are just names being thrown at you left, right, to center. And it doesn't help that, like, later on, like you get these weird pairings. Like we had a character called Alan Duffrey, who was prosecuted by Doug Allen. Say, come on. Um, that's one of my children, if that came through on the mic. We get Holly saying something was poopy behavior, which felt forced, to be honest. Um, and of course, we have to have reference to the fact that Sister Bessie has truly mighty bazooms. Um, so yes, great, thanks for that. The big thing I'm taking away from this so far is that this feels way more plotted than King books usually do. There are lots of chess pieces being arranged at this point. We've got lots of strands going here. And it feels like they're going to have to come together at some point. So it feels like King has really thought about the plot in this one. So I'm intrigued to see how that goes because he is not a plotter by his own admission. So there we go. Oh, and the big thing, well, a big thing that I've noticed, every time King writes the word black in relation to skin color, he's using capital B, and I really applaud that. So good. So I'm going to go back into the second mistake on the lake, Buckeye City, and we'll see where we go from there. Catch you in the next one. So another 100 pages into Never Flinch. I'm kind of halfway through now, and more of the same sort of frustrating mixed bag. I think without the scenes with Trig, I would be struggling with this book. I would find it quite a slog. Um, because I mean, there is a lot here to just be like, really? So, particularly the Barbara stuff. So, in the first 100 pages, we saw how Sister Bessie like actively sought out Barbara, like is going to start her tour in this home city of Barbara just to get Barbara there, gets her along to rehearsals and stuff. And then Barbara becomes one of their roadies. Like, okay, sure. So you're just going to get a unionized job just just because, like, what? Because you're a poet? What? And then, of course, after that, she ends up, and this isn't spoilers, because it's quite minor, it's very minor to the plot, but it just frustrates me and I've got to talk about it. Um, Barbara ends up singing backing vocals in Sister Bessie's band, of course, because she's not just this amazing poet and just human in general, she can also sing wonderfully as well. Um, so yeah, I mean, that stuff is all just like, honestly, every time Barbara's in, I'm just rolling my eyes. Um, and those bits are really difficult to get through because they're just, they're just so saccharine. It's just, I don't need it at all. Another bit that made me roll my eyes, I can't remember which two characters it was now. A lot of this book is not sticking, which is unusual for King. King is usually sticky, and this is not sticking. But there's two characters that having a conversation. They fist bump and say "Always Holly," which of course was a working title for this book. But just like "Always Holly," fist bump, "Always Holly." D- No, no, really not. Um, but the Trig stuff is really good. Like those scenes again when he is killing people and he's on this quest for his twisted sense of justice. Um, and his scenes are chilling because there is intent and there is thought behind his actions, but the people he is killing are not being chosen deliberately. He's just killing at will, and that makes it scary because like there are people like that out there in the world. Um, if you're in the wrong place at the wrong time, you could just be dead. Um, so the Trig scenes really draw me back into the book, and I find it really compelling. And also, what I'm finding more interesting at this point, I'm not going to speak too much because of spoilers, but the character who is stalking Kate Mackay, a very interesting character. I really like how King has drawn this character. I like what we're learning about them, what we're seeing them do. Um, yeah, yeah, really good stuff. Um, I'm going to end. I'm going to end on a positive though. I don't think I mentioned this in the first 100 words, but there's a baseball match that is like being teed up as like this big setting for the story. And the baseball match is between the fire department and the police department in Buckeye City, um, which is the second mistake on the lake, as I think I've already mentioned. But the match, police against fire, the match is called Guns and Hoses, which, granted, King, I will give you that. Like, that is making me chuckle every time I read it. So, I'm not going to fist bump you for Always Holly. No. But Guns and Hoses, yeah, I'll bump you for that. So another 100 pages done of Never Flinch. So I'm kind of 3/4 of the way through now. I'm conscious of getting to the point on this vlogging experience where I can't really talk too much because definitely getting into spoiler territory and I don't want to do that. Um, Still more of the same in terms of my feelings. Like generally a bit of a frustrating read, but the stuff with Trig is really good. Um, and the story itself is moving a bit faster now as we head towards the end. So I'm definitely engaged. I'm definitely interested. It's not sticking as much as King stuff usually sticks, at least for me. Um, but yeah, I'm working through it, and I'm interested to see how this all pulls together for the climax. Um, so again, I'm not going to mention much because of spoilers. Some things I did want to mention here. So there's a character who makes a brief appearance here called Aubrey, which made me smile because my youngest son is called Aubrey. Um, and I'm not going to lie, not going to lie, the fact that we have Sister Bessie, who is a black woman, a larger black woman, is making me nervous. Like those, like historically, King's characters who are either black or who are larger don't tend to be represented very well. So having the two together, I mean, I'm confident that he's better at writing both of those types of characters now, but still a part of me that's a bit nervous. But the thing that's caught my eye most in this section, so we have a moment where um, Holly makes a deduction and it isn't right. Um, and we get this really interesting passage where Holly's kind of like really dwelling on her failures, and she kind of just thoroughly discounts her successes that she's had over the course of her life as a Stephen King character, and just writes them off as luck and coincidence. And that's one of the most compelling things I've ever read about Holly. Like we see her in this book where she's a bit more socially functioning, but she's really self-reflective here as well. And it's a fascinating little piece. And also, I know, King has talked about constantly throughout his career about having doubts about his own career and his own talents. So there's maybe a bit of that coming through there. But that's the kind of thing I want now with Holly. Like, we're what, 6 books in, 7 books into her arc? Like, give me more about her. Give me more of what's going on in her head. Like, there's a noticeable decline in the amount of fracking and poopy in this, which is great. Um, but yeah, just getting to know Holly as a character that bit more. I feel like we should be knowing her way more by now. So I'd really like that. Um, but yeah, I've got basically 100 pages to go. In fact, the next chapter I'm going to be reading is chapter 19, which is great for Stephen King. And of course, it's the name of my band. Um, so yeah, let's get on to that. And then I imagine there'll be one more vlog update and then on to a proper review. Okay, I am done with Never Flinch. Again, I can't really talk loads details because of like spoilers and stuff. Um, I'm definitely going to be doing a collection of like Easter eggs at the end of this review as well because I'm picking up loads of things. But some stuff I thought about mentioning here. I know this is a weird point to think this, given that I've just finished the book, but is this the first time we learn that the place where Holly lives is called Buckeye City? I'm pretty sure the city doesn't have a name in the Mercedes trilogy. It's just kind of this nameless city. And I can't remember ever knowing it was called Buckeye, which, like, it's odd this many books in to suddenly be given a name. I might be misremembering here. These books are not my favorite in the series. I don't hold on to the details quite as much. But, like, you're in no doubt that it's Buckeye City in this particular story. I just wonder whether, like, is that a deliberate move? Is this a signal that we're going to get even more here and we're properly trying to establish a town? Who knows? But the main thing to say about the final 100 pages is the ending really works, really pulls it together, really sort of ties together all of the threads that King has had running in this book and all of the plates he's set spinning. Um, and it's satisfying. It definitely works. Um, some fun things I was going to mention here. So, at one point, we get a mention of the fact that the Taylor Swift song "Hey Stephen" is playing, and that was one that King tweeted about when he was sort of bigging up Taylor Swift around the time he was writing this. That just made me laugh. Like, he's so, like, you could go back and look at his social media output during the writing of books and then probably read those books and find the same things in there. It's just brilliant. I love it. Um, I love how he's like so unfiltered. Um, we get some really unnerving, creepy stuff in the finale of this with like people talking in different voices and things. I'm not going to say much more on that, but it's really effective. Um, we also get Holly saying a line, and I can't remember if she said the same line in Holly or not now. I have a feeling like she did, or either she did or she got to this point and I thought she should have said this. I can't remember. I'm gonna have to go back and check. But there's a point where she says, "I'm fracked," and then too mild, fucked. That's what I am. And like I say, I remember reading Holly and thinking either, yes, she said I'm fucked, or she should have said I'm fucked at this point. Maybe it's the latter. Hey, maybe King watched my review. I don't know. Um, but yeah, we find out in the finale more about who Trig really is. We get everything pulling together. The final lines of the book are really, really creepy as well. Um, so yeah, like a satisfying conclusion and definitely the breeziest part of the book. Um, the less said about the fact that we get this lovely description of Sister Bessie when she's undressing, having a mighty bra, a mightier midsection, and an acre of cotton underpants. Like, I thought we were way past that, to be honest. We don't need that anymore. But But yeah, a satisfying conclusion and definitely the strongest part of the book. Um, but still a book that is a tricky one to review because, yeah, I really don't know where I'm at with it at the moment. So I am gonna sleep on it for maybe a day or two, and then the next time you see me here, um, well, the next time you see me, let's say we'll do a proper, thoughtful review, all spoiler free, of course, of Never Flinch. But I'm done. Another King book checked off. Hey, good times. Okay, so there's my vlog. Before we get to the review, a couple of quick plugs from me, and feel free to skip these if you want to, but just some things I like to plug that I've got going on. Links for everything are in the description, but they are my award-winning collection of short stories from 2024, Once More Around the Sun. You can pick that up if you like Stephen King, but you want it maybe with a slightly more British angle. That's for you. I've also got a Stephen King trivia book from 2022. I also have a range of Stephen King themed band shirts, like my Slipknot Salem's Lot t-shirt that I'm wearing here, where I mash up Stephen King stuff and band logos. And lastly, if you enjoy what I'm doing on this channel, you can become a member, you can become a constant viewer, get extra content, early access to regular content, and all of that kind of stuff, and support me directly. So let's get into my review of Never Flinch, shall we? So I've had some time to reflect since finishing Never Flinch, and I think my overall experience is one of frustration. Frustration at a book that promises to be great in parts, but never quite gets there. Never Flinch is kind of a book that has some brilliant stuff, but also has so much that just doesn't stick at all. It's a book that teases, like it hints at being something really, really excellent, but just doesn't quite deliver. And that's why it's kind of a frustrating read. In fact, in many ways, for someone like me who is not a fan of Holly Gibney, at times this book feels tired. It feels forced almost. And it really reinforces to me that this character needs to go on the shelf for a bit. Permanently would be fine, but definitely we need a break from Holly Gibney. But let me start with what I liked in this book, because there was plenty of things that I liked here. This book spins a number of threads that start very distant from each other and slowly get closer and closer before being all wound together very smartly in its kind of inevitable conclusion where it all ties everything off. But that takes skill to do, and King does it very well here. I guess you could say on that he doesn't flinch. Anyway, we've got these parallel tracks. We've got Trig and his killing spree and his just whole being embedded in the world of recovery and addiction, which is something that King knows so well and writes about so well. We've got Kate Mackay's road trip and trying to understand what she's like as a character. We've also got her stalker and the motivations and the background and the actions of that character. And then we've got the seemingly minor distractions of Sister Bessie coming out of retirement and starting her tour in Buckeye City. We've got catching up with the Robinsons, and we've got the police versus fire department baseball match. That's a lot of plates to be spinning, and while there were some that I found far more compelling than others, King manages to do it. He pulls it all together in the climax, so kudos to that. And actually that ending is worthy of a mention in this section where I'm talking about things I did like in this book. It's propulsive, it's frenetic, it's tense, it's exciting. Like, I burned through those last 100 pages quicker than I did the rest of the book, probably. Once the handbrake was fully off, this book really moves, and it is a lot of fun. But most of all, it's the villains in this book that I really like. King gives us two really compelling baddies and sets them off on separate tracks and just about pulls them together in a way that is satisfying. One of them is Kate's stalker. Fascinating backstory to this character, and as I already mentioned, the motivations there, the people behind that character that are driving those actions, really intrigued me. And I really enjoyed spending time in that character's head and getting to know them and see what they were going to do. But for me, it's Trig that is the overall standout part of this book. Now, as we've had in most of the stories in the Holly Gibney verse, we know early on, very early on, who the killer is. And the book is less of a whodunit, more of a howdunit. That's kind of how King seems to approach his noir crime style fiction. That means we know that Trig is the killer, basically from the start. And the scenes, and we've talked about this in the vlog, the scenes where he is out killing people are truly chilling. There is just a coldness and a bluntness and a randomness to Trig's actions that are really terrifying. And it's the randomness in terms of who he chooses to kill. There's very meticulously thought out action behind what he is doing and to drive his statement, his agenda. But the lives he actually chooses to take, yeah, completely at random. And it just really ran cold down my spine when I was reading those scenes. Essentially, they mean nothing to him at the same time as meaning everything in his cause. But like the scene where Trig makes his first kill, the woman out jogging with her dog, and then he starts musing afterwards on the life he's just taken and the lives that he's going to completely flip upside down through his actions. And I just found that really compelling and really unnerving, really got under my skin and drew me into Trig as this character that whenever he was on a page, I was really paying attention. I was waiting for something drastic to happen. And as the novel goes on, Trig becomes less and less stable, and that makes him even more compelling. And just like in most of the Holly books, the result is King gives us a villain who is truly memorable. So there are some moments in Never Flinch that I was kind of ambivalent about. And I guess moments isn't really fair either. It's characters. Like I liked, I guess, seeing Izzy, her development, but at the same time, she was a bit of a shoulder shrug. And I particularly didn't buy just how in awe of Holly she was all the time. Kate Mackay was a character I was really looking forward to seeing what we got from her. And again, okay. Like I understand that she's a divisive figure, but I don't fully understand her politics and her argument. Yes, I know she is pro-choice. And yes, I know she is pro kind of generally bettering things for women. But if you actually drill down at the content of her lectures and events that we see in this book, it's pretty top level. And I was kind of expecting a richer character there in terms of really understanding what her politics are. So that was, again, a bit of a shrug for me. You know, from reading the blurb on the book and the press releases and stuff, I was kind of expecting something a lot more bombastic with this character. But as I said, all I really got is some top level stuff. But thankfully, it was very relieving to know that she does have full breasts. So thanks for that. Now, another character that kind of left me feeling a bit meh in the end was Sister Bessie. But I won't lie, I was nervous about Sister Bessie going into this book. So the result of what we actually got of her on page was far, far better than what I was expecting / dreading. Yes, she does feel like a caricature of a black soul diva singer. You know, larger than life, full of sassy quips and all of that. But at the same time, she does feel like a breath of fresh air compared to some of King's previous non-white characters. I did not buy her obsession with Barbara Robinson, but just kind of have to accept that everybody in these books loves every single Robinson character. And Sister Bessie grew on me more and more as the book went on. Again, though, the only thing I didn't really need was the constant reminders of just how large her breasts are. We get it. She's well equipped. Just move on. The plot in this was pretty good. It kind of kept moving and kept me interested. I was unsure going into this of the idea of Holly ending up as a bodyguard, but seeing it in context, it kind of works. Kate wanted somebody who was a woman and who wasn't ex-police to be that sort of role. So Holly fits the bill, but also in real life, I mean, that kind of divisive a figure, that sort of person who was in the crosshairs, quite literally almost, they'd just hire an actual bodyguard, right? Other than that, though, it's Trig's ongoing warped quest for revenge that was the real fizz in this book and kept it from ever falling fully flat. On the flip side, though, there was a lot of this that surprisingly for me just didn't stick. And I've talked about this in the vlog. Like, King is usually a very sticky reader for me, even if it's books that I'm not particularly enjoying. I know what's going on and I can remember what's going on the next time I pick up the book. There were large parts of this book that were just kind of like an uninteresting piece of bubblegum. Like, you're chewing it and you're getting some flavour at the time, but then it's basically gone straight away. And that felt unusual for a King book for me, which took me by surprise a bit. So there were things that I didn't like here. And I'm going to stop short of simply saying I didn't like Holly. In actual fact, I enjoyed seeing how Holly had grown socially and how she was much more self-aware, much more confident, much more capable of being in social situations. So Holly here actually just being Holly was fine. It was what everyone else thinks of Holly that I didn't like and that just I found frustrating. Like, she's basically this just absolute goddess in this world who can do no wrong. And like the police characters all wanting to defer to Holly all the time, it just felt like, okay, you like this character, but this is just pushing it too far. And then there's the Robinsons. So Jerome is in this, but doesn't really feature that much. I almost get the sense that maybe King's getting a little bit tired of writing him. So he was there and he was fine. But it's Barbara that really had my eyes rolling every time I read anything with her in this. Again, in terms of like some character that's on a pedestal, this is unbelievable in this book. I really don't buy Sister Bessie's obsession with Barbara in this book. I don't believe that this legendary singer would be starting her reunion tour in the hometown of this girl just because she liked her book of poetry. And, you know, sure enough, like her book, but come on, this is going too far again. And then for Barbara to obviously come along to rehearsals and then end up as a roadie, and then end up as a backing singer, and then for Sister Bessie to want to take one of Barbara's poems and turn it into not only a song, but like her set closing song, her big comeback song that's going to get changed every single night of the tour. Like, no. And the one line that honestly almost made me it definitely made me laugh out loud in a way that wasn't really finding it funny. It almost made me shut the book and throw it across the room, was just where Sister Bessie just turns to Barbara and goes, "You're so goddamn talented." It's like, oh, please give it a rest. And as I've already said, that's one of my key takeaways from Never Flinch, is that these characters need a break. For my money, a permanent break, that would be fine, but definitely an extended break. Like, there are no stakes here, not really. Like, we know that Holly is absolutely the bee's knees, and we know how much King loves Holly. So ultimately, you can go into any Holly book assuming that she'll probably be okay in the end. I don't know what collateral damage there'll be, but it's more you have to brace yourself for seeing what's going to pan out and how she's going to solve it. Here, a lot of her deductions just felt too easy for me, and in some cases, I almost found a little bit phoned in. And as for the Robinsons, I don't need to read anything with them in again. They are just flawless. They can do absolutely no wrong. You know, they're both these just instant successful authors. It just feels too much, too saccharine. I don't need it. And I don't need it because the result is that they are dull characters. I liked them in the Mercedes trilogy, but I don't want to read about them anymore. My other takeaway from this actually came from reading King's afterword. And I get the sense that this book was work for King. Feels like it was an effort to birth it into the world. He talks about how he wrote this during a period where he had hip replacement surgery. And yeah, you can sense that it was an effort to get this out. And for me, it's reflected in the writing in quite a few places in this book. Like, he mentions in the afterword that his wife Tabitha read the first draft and basically said, "You could do better than this." And honestly, I think he can still do better than this. Despite there being plenty of stuff in this that I really did like. There's almost a resignation in the afterword where he talks about, you know, he's happy with it, but kind of as happy as he can be with it. And that felt different from his usual. He's quite self-deprecating usually and sort of false modesty. Felt different from that this time. It felt like I've got this done, it's over the line, just have it, there you go. Which is kind of hurt me a little bit, just there. Like, I can clearly see that King wanted this book to happen and wanted it to get out there, but it was a lot of effort to make it happen. I get the sense that it was a slog, and at times I found it a bit of a slog to read. So King is famously productive. He's been blessing us with at least one new book a year, pretty much for half a century now. And when the juices are flowing, that's great, but for the first time, I do feel like after reading this that maybe just take a break, just even if it's just a year. I'd rather him have a year off and come back with something that is written with the punch and the panache and the flair that we got in the stories in You Like It Darker than something like this that has its moments, absolutely has its moments, but also largely feels like it's really being shoved through mud. You know, the result is something that feels like it has been churned out, that again does have some great moments, but largely is just a bit flat. And like, don't get me wrong, I do want to stress there are parts of this I really did enjoy, and trying to be as objective as possible. When this book really sings, like, King is just swatting away other authors with ease because his writing is so polished and so punchy and so affecting. The stuff with Trig in particular. Like, honestly, he's a great character, and his killing scenes are some of the most unnerving and spine-chilling stuff that I've read all year. Like, those sections are where King really finds a groove, really locks into it, and just delivers the goods fully. But my overall takeaway of this is a tired book, and a book that I already have forgotten a lot of the details about, and it's probably just going to just fade into obscurity in my overall ranking of King's stuff. In some ways, it feels like an acceptance of being good enough rather than good or great, which is what I've been used to from this guy. So I guess in summary, I will always be excited for New King. I will always read New King. I will always be enthusiastic about New King, and I will always recommend people to read New King. And I still would encourage constant readers to give Never Flinch a go. But at the same time, with this book in particular, I don't see Never Flinch becoming any constant reader's favourite Stephen King book. But what do you think of Never Flinch if you've read it? Do let me know in the comments. Okay, to wrap off this section, I'm going to go through some Easter eggs that I found in this book. So this is the only thing that is going to come close to a spoiler. If you want to skip this bit and go to the outro, do. But otherwise, here's some things I spotted that felt very Kingian. So the police station is at 19 Court Plaza. Barbara, when she wins tickets to go and see Sister Bessie before Bessie calls her up and makes her part of her life, she was caller 19 on K-pop radio and won the tickets, obviously. We have got somebody's in the Tolliver. He is in room 419 in the hospital. He also lets out a fart strong enough to blister paint, which was hilarious. One of the meetings that is mentioned is called The Shine at Noon. We have got a character, Big Book Mike was an Oxy junkie at one point, and King got hooked on OxyContin. What else have we got? Reverend Mike lives at 649. If you add 6 plus 4 and 9, you get 19, of course. We get one of the characters mentioned that they believe in telepathy, which feels like a Kingian thing to do. There's a reference to Lee Harvey Oswald. There's a reference to Dennis Rader, which I'm pretty sure is the inspiration behind The Good Marriage Killer. We get a character called Kathy, who has two-tone hair, which made me think of Cynthia Smith from Rose Madder and Desperation. Jane Haggerty lives at 4636 Fairlawn Court, and you know what those numbers add up to? It's 19. We get some talk about women's centres and abortions and stuff, which obviously felt Insomnia-esque. We get Dearborn Street mentioned as an address, and Will Dearborn is a Dark Tower name. One of the characters' rooms in Buckeye City is 919, and 9 plus 1 plus 9 is 19, and there's a 19 there as well. Izzy's capture in the baseball game is named Coslaw, which is same, I think, name as Marty in Cycle of the Werewolf. One that really stood out here. So we get mentioned that Holly has a talent for being slightly dim, and not dim in terms of unintelligent, but like being able to blend into the background. That is a Dark Tower trait, being dim, going dim. So does that mean that we're getting a Tower Holly crossover? Who knows? We get someone mentioning that Barbara shines. We get someone saying, do you remember Wild Bill's? And Wild Bill made me think of the Green Mile. We get some characters talking about a goaltender in hockey whose nickname was Cujo, Curtis Joseph. His nickname was Cujo and had like a dog mask on their helmet. We get, I think it was Holly digging fingernails into her palms, which is a classic King trait. Trigg's daddy was a Buckeye Bullets fan and his lucky shirt was number 19. We get Sister Bessie telling herself, I think, that you ain't 19 anymore. And, well, that was just about it on the Easter eggs. So, there we go. There's some Never Flinch coverage. Okay, that's it. Review done, vlog done, Easter eggs list done, Never Flinch done. Not my favourite Stephen King book, but always a pleasure to read New King. And again, thank you so much to Hodder for reading this in exchange for this review. Plenty to enjoy in here. And if you're a Holly fan, you'll probably have a very different reading experience than me, and I'd love to hear from you and get to know where you think it ranks in the Holly books. And in fact, why don't you come back here in a few more days and I'll share my ranking of the Holly books with you now that we've got Never Flinch. Thank you so much for watching. Do check out the links in the description to all the other things I've got going on. If you're new around here, maybe stick around, go and watch some other stuff on this channel, and hopefully see you again soon. But otherwise, enjoy some brand new King. It's always a fun day. Thanks again to Hodder. Thanks to King for keeping on writing and creating such a great character with Trig. Really did enjoy him. But otherwise, I will see you again very soon. Take care. Happy reading. Bye-bye.